Hi, Mike.
Hiya.
So, welcome to the podcast today. Obviously, what I want to do with you is go through a lot of like your journey because obviously you've been in the industry for a while now.
Yeah.
Obviously, I know you've worked with many different
Mm.
mentors. Obviously, I know you from the different spaces. But what I want to do is a little bit about background on you and your business and why you got into online coaching because it's such an interesting journey that you've had.
Mm.
And obviously, you've talked about that before about your content and stuff as well. But what inspired you to actually get into fitness as a business?
Well, you've put me on the spot now. You didn't want to warn me with any of these questions. So originally, it kind of a few different things. One, I can't work for anyone else. That was a big part of it. I wanted to, wasn't very good at being employed, but also I was quite a shy, overweight kid, and it was when I started doing fitness. That's when I kind of came out of my shell a bit more. Started with boxing, then
Interesting.
did rugby in uni, but then started training a bit more. And then as I got into the fitness space and got better as a coach, I kind of realized that I was giving that to other people and allowing them to kind of become more of themselves. And that's kind of where that ended up going.
Yeah.
That's why I did it.
Interesting you said boxing. Like I would never have like pegged you for a
Yeah.
boxer. I don't know why.
I'm not sure how to take that.
Not in a bad way, but I like because I've like known you so like for
Yeah.
so long, and like I just couldn't imagine you like punching someone in the head.
So boxing kind of hits two different types of people. You get the people who just want to fight.
Yeah.
They don't tend to last very long because as soon as they get punched in the face, they're like, oh, actually, this hurts. But it also is a lot of discipline in it.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed it. I was pretty good at it for a while, and I got quite close to getting a medical, but then I fucked up my wrist, and then I moved schools, and then they wouldn't let me do it in my other school because they said it was too aggressive.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense then. Okay. So obviously, what was one of the most like defining moments in your like even your personal life and stuff that really made you think like this is kind of what I actually want to do with my life, like with online coaching and obviously helping the people that you do help at the moment.
So moving online originally was more about being able to have freedom of movement because obviously as a PT you don't really have much choice. Like if you move gyms you almost have to start business over again. So originally it was to allow for more freedom of movement, but then I started just before lockdowns, and I think that made a really big difference. Obviously people didn't have much of a choice, so it made it easier to build the business, but realizing that the mental side and the support I could give to people globally made a really big difference, and that kind of pushed me to want to do it even more then.
Yeah. And obviously you work with like solely just gay men at the moment. Like what was it like that kind of made you choose that niche in terms of obviously I'd like because it's like so like such a like a unique kind
Mm.
of niche. I know obviously one of the people that does do that. What was it that made you kind of like go down that route?
One sec. So I didn't actually actively choose that.
Oh right.
They
Chose
made
you.
it, yeah, pretty much. Because so it was kind of a bit of a mixed bag. Because I was training women when I went online, and then because I'm a bigger dude, a lot of them kind of just assumed I was going to make them bigger. And then I started training more gay men, and they referred me to other gay men. And I think what really helped with that is my understanding of the gay experience.
Yeah.
Being a gay man myself, I understand kind of even when you come out, you're still not quite out. Because I think, especially the gay men that I train, a lot of them are over 35. So they probably spent maybe 15, 20 years of their early life kind of being shadows of themselves.
Yeah.
And then even when you come out, you still have to keep coming out. So there's points where they go to new jobs, they meet new people, and they still kind of have to hold themselves back a bit. And I think being able to show them that they can be themselves wherever and they belong in places, like in the gym as well. A lot of gay men will go, oh, I don't feel like I belong in the big boy area. So showing them how they can be themselves no matter where they are is quite rewarding.
I actually really like that. Like
Yeah.
I like that that's like I don't know, I think like you talking about that is just like actually make me go on to another topic is like maybe even like what was like was that something that you had experienced when you were younger as well?
Not hugely, because like there was always bits where I think more so probably when I to maybe about 17, 18. When I went to uni, I just kind of was like, fuck this, I don't care. But up to about 16, definitely. And then I went to boarding school, and and everyone's a little bit gay there, so it kind of made it a bit easier. And playing rugby also, like even straight rugby guys, I think tend to be more gay than gay rugby guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard the stories.
And it kind of just allowed me to just go, oh, you know what, fuck it. Like if somebody doesn't like it, fuck them.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of guys find that really difficult. Like even simple things like what was it the other day? It was a hip thrust pad. That was like a zebra hip thrust pad. And one of my clients was like, oh, I'd love that. And I was like, get it. And he's like, oh no, I don't want people to look at me. And it's just like, why? Start like and getting them to just not give a shit because
Yeah.
people are gonna judge you regardless.
Yeah.
You might as well be doing the things that you actually want to do.
Yeah, but I think as well, like society has changed massively. Like
Yeah.
whenever, if you're looking back at obviously like the 80s, 90s and stuff, like that would have been obviously like a time where you say like a lot of them like felt like they couldn't.
Yeah.
But I feel like now it's like it's just everyone's like so accepted
Yeah.
as who they are. But I imagine that's quite difficult if you can't accept who you are.
Yes. So it's people wanting to do what they want to do, but then at the same time, they're still judging themselves, so they
Yeah.
find it difficult to think that other people won't judge them.
Yeah. So like, how do you actually like help people overcome that? Because that seems like that seems like a massive mental block. And something my auntie always said to me was like, I used to like constantly worry about other people liking me, so I used to judge myself constantly. And she's like, I bet you any money when you get to a certain age that just stops.
Yeah.
And she was like, when I got to my 30s, I just stopped caring. She was like, there was just this moment where I was just like of clarity. I just stopped giving a fuck. She was like, because people are gonna like you regardless.
It comes in different ways for different people. So like the other day, I actually just shared it on my story. One of the older guys, I think he's late 40s, early 50s, and he never really worn a vest on a night out. And it feels like such a simple thing. And he said, he was even saying to me yesterday, it feels stupid. And I was like, it's not. It's you being able to express yourself in some way that makes you feel more comfortable. And that comes from them just feeling better in their own bodies. I think it's feeling better in their own bodies, having more control of things, understanding that shit kind of happens and finding ways to kind of move past that. And I think having that control and clarity over your own life and your own actions and how you feel allows you to do a lot more of those sort of things. And then they're able to wear the things they like, and when they're able to wear the things they like, they feel like they're being more themselves, and then that seeds into everything else.
Yeah. So is that like part of like whenever you're over your program, is that something that you feel like is like something that you actually like massively work on with them, other than like the nutrition and training?
Yeah, so it's not like a active pointing out certain things, but when we have these calls and we have these conversations, I get them to question a lot of their own thought patterns. So similar guy as well. He was one of the guys that was like, oh, I don't want to go into the big boy area with the dumbbells. And I just kind of gave him a really simple task of, instead of thinking about it and waiting until the end of the session, just go over there. If you don't like it, at least you've tried, and then you can try a bit harder. And if you can't stay in that area, it doesn't really matter because you're doing this for you. And he went in that first day, did it, was loving it, and now he's fine. And then he's doing things like wearing vests on nights out and being able to be himself a bit more.
I actually really love that. Like, I love that, like, one of the things I love about, obviously, a lot of the people that we work with now is that everyone's program just isn't about, like, training or nutrition. It's not like that bog standard stuff. Like, and I think, like, one thing that I've always told you as well to do your content is, like, you need to speak about stuff like this more because, like, it's stuff that people do not see that you actually work on behind that. And I actually love that, like, that's something that you do with all your clients.
Cool. Awesome.
Whenever so whenever you were obviously getting into like I know you got into boxing and you got into rugby and stuff as well, but did you ever yourself kind of like do like a body transformation, or like did you ever have like an online coach as well before?
So I've been working with Ali for, I think it's 4 years now, because it was in lockdown that I started working with him. So I'd been training for quite a while at that stage, and I think it's like a lot of people kind of knew what I was doing but not doing very well. But actually hiring him helped my coaching as well, because you pick up things, and I actually feel bad for the people I did PT with before that, because I was just like, I was not doing a good job at all. But that's made a big difference. Got in really good shape a couple of years ago, then was ill for about 6 months, and now back in a pretty good spot. And that kind of helped the business quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
We're both on helping me push even while I was really ill, But also, I picked up a lot of clients when I was in really bad shape, because a lot of them were just like, I relate to this more,
Yeah.
because there was a few guys that said to me if I was in the same shape as I was in June before being ill, they wouldn't have signed up. But it was because they saw the other side of things.
Yeah.
That they were like, okay, this is the guy for me. And they're still with me now.
But like, this is what, like, again, we always say, it's like your personal brand, like, because things have changed obviously in social media, and we'll definitely get into that as well, like how it's changed in the last couple of years. Like, obviously you've been doing like your coaching online for about 4 or 5 years now. So
5 years to last week.
Oh my god, okay.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Yeah,
Happy 5
thank
year
you.
anniversary.
Thank you.
But so obviously, like, since then, like, I have seen a massive shift obviously in content, but like, what do you feel like is the biggest shift that you've had to make with your business and your content?
In content or in me?
We'll do both even.
Yeah, in content, I think sharing more personality makes a big difference. I think if I look at some of my content at the beginning of lockdown, it was very much like, this is how you can do home workouts, and I was doing it with Bubba. That did get a lot of engagement. I was doing like squat thrusts, with the Frenchie and stuff like that. But it's more now about story and personality and showing people how they can kind of move along their own journey, which I think makes a really big difference because they see themselves in it rather than this person who's in good shape doing a chest workout, although that does get a lot of engagement, but that's because they're thirsty.
Yeah,
so.
I always say chest and glutes is probably two of the
Oh
biggest
yeah,
things.
it's great.
And like, even obviously with Ollie as well,
Yeah.
like, he's exactly the same. It's always chest and glutes, and
Yeah.
I'm always like, feed into it, like, go for it, like, if that's what you want to do, like, and that's what you leads, brilliant.
Just sprinkle it in there every so
Yeah,
often. Like I did a thing with, I was like, choose your favorite underwear, and that got ridiculous amount of engagement. And I think somebody signed up from there. I'm like, oh, that's fine. As long as you don't be too thirsty, I don't care.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? So obviously with like your business when starting in like 2020, and you've obviously been on a few different challenges and stuff for a few years, like, what do you think has been the biggest thing that you happened in your business, like biggest challenge you've had?
I think probably the illness was an interesting one because it was from August 2023 to December. It was a sinus thing. It feels like it was like a pretty basic thing, but I couldn't breathe very well. I had to have an operation. And I think being able to push through that and see the business grow and kind of be able to take a step back on things like training and really focus on that really made a big difference because it showed me that even when things are really shit, you can move things forward. I can make the business work. I can help people. And that did make a really big difference, definitely.
Yeah. And so you've worked obviously with a few different people as well, in terms of obviously when you've obviously got like the help and stuff. What's been like some of the, like, say, the biggest key takeaways whenever you've worked with someone?
I think it's taking bits that are relevant to you. I think with a lot of business mentors and ones that I've spoken to and worked with, a lot of them have a very specific way they like to do things, and sometimes they find it quite difficult to understand the bigger picture of why you want to do something a certain way. So I think making sure that you take the bits that make sense and make them work and try other things, and if it doesn't work, you just move on from it. I think that makes a big difference.
So I think on asking you, what was like the biggest like things then that you've taken away that you still use now for your business?
So a lot of lead gen stuff in general. So how I do like funnels and stuff like that with messaging. I think also a really big one is pushing through when something doesn't quite go to plan. Because I think, if you remember correctly, I had a bit of a meltdown a few years ago because a launch didn't go very well. When I think about it now, I'm like, fucking hell, that was a bit of a bitch there, wasn't I? Had a full-on meltdown. I think Did I stop working for like 2-3 months? It was a good 2-3 months.
You did, actually.
I was just like, oh, I can't.
I actually forgot about that, until like, because I remember you obviously texted me not that long ago, and I was like, that is something I had completely forgotten about.
No, I had a full-on meltdown from end of May to July. Although, that is when I met my partner, and then I moved, and so it wasn't all bad.
Yeah.
But being able to push through stuff, because there's been times now where I've done launches and I'm like, oh, this isn't going very well. And then I've gone, you know what, fuck it, just keep going because we don't know what's going to happen. And then all of a sudden, a load of people sign up at the very end.
Yeah.
You don't really know what other people are doing. So I think that's a big thing, is pushing through things and not being a bit of a bitch for the sake of being a bitch. I'm surprised you forgot about the meltdown.
Honestly, like, I mean, I've worked with that
Because I
many.
made a really big deal about it.
I know, but I have worked with that many people though who have had meltdowns, so I think like they just all kind of blur into one now, and I think I'm used to it as well. Like I mean, everyone knows I've had
Yeah.
meltdowns before. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's been times where like in the last year and a half, I haven't actually had one,
Yeah.
which I'm actually really surprised about
Yeah.
because I've done alright. But before that, I probably would have had a meltdown like every other
Yeah.
week.
That meltdown was so bad that I took my birthday off Facebook because I didn't want people to wish me happy birthday. That's how bad it was. I was like, no joy in my life. I do not want joy. I should have just booked a holiday. I don't know why I didn't just book a trip.
I know, because that's usually what you do anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah.
And it's like, no joy.
I don't think I've ever been that bad, but like
Yeah.
I've definitely, and I think as well, like it depends. Like I read something the other day. It was like something about like burnout and like obviously stress and stuff like that is like usually led because you're doing something you don't actually really enjoy doing at that time. So like there's definitely times where I've like either had meltdowns or I've honestly felt like what am I actually doing? Like what is going on? And I can imagine that's how you felt at the same time as well.
I wasn't appreciating how well I was doing.
Yeah,
That's what
but
the
I say this
problem
to you
was.
even now as well.
That's what the problem was, because after that year, I had a good 6 months that was really dire. Like it dropped, and I was making like 2.5, 3K a month, and I was like, shit. And I was making more than twice that before, and I was like, oh, I would be happy with that.
Yeah.
So I wasn't appreciating the effort and how well I was doing. And yes, that is true. I do it now, but I still appreciate it. I could do better. I could do more.
Yeah, I mean you're doing well, like really well now. But one of the things as well that I always say to clients is like, so I even had this conversation with one of them like not that long ago, and like there's this perception of like the more money that you make, the happier you feel like you're gonna be. But a lot of them are like, I was actually happier making 4K, 5K a month than I am now, and it's this constant like pressure that like if I'm not hitting 10K or I'm not hitting like 15K, like it's all gonna, and you're like, and in what reality like do we use everyone live in? Because like if you're making 15K a month, like you're doing better than like 98% of the population.
Yeah, like a ridiculous
yeah,
amount of
so it's
people.
like, where do you need that money? Like what actually do you need that money for?
More
And it's
holidays.
I know, but this more like I know like we can still get a holiday like on 5K.
Yeah, I've learned how you can get holidays cheaper now recently. So I was like, how do people keep going on holidays? Because you can spread the cost and have holidays. So I'm like, oh, I'm just going to book loads on them now.
That's easier then, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, I find like, so I don't know, I feel like it's so bizarre. Like I do have conversations with a lot of like business owners, and they're always like, yeah, I'm not doing well enough. And I just feel like saying to them, like, go out into like the world, like go outside of the fitness space, outside of this online industry where we're all warped thinking that we have to make in 50K a month or whatever. And like other people are like, yeah, I'm happy. Like one of my friends today was like, I'm happy making like 2K a month, and I was like, I'd fucking love to just be able to be happy that. I think my fucking outgoing is probably like 2K a month just on my personal stuff alone. And I'm like, how did I even get to that place? Like I remember struggling with like, I used to earn like 26 grand a year, and I was like, oh my god, I'm making the most money ever, because it was 10 grand more than what I started on when I started doing marketing. My first job in marketing, I was earning 16 grand a year. And like my stepdad took like half of that because it was for food and rent. So I had like £600 a month. Bear in mind, this man is like 20 years older than me. I was like, you earn like 5 grand a month and you're taking £500 a month off me. Like, say what? Like, what the fuck? So I don't understand. Like sometimes I always think like, that's why I always say to users, like, just appreciate like where you're at now in comparison to where you were, because like you have done also well.
Yeah, it is mental though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is mental, isn't it? Like the space that we all work in. And I think sometimes people will say like a little bit of like a step back a little bit and be like, you're doing better than 98% of the population right now.
Yeah.
But people make it feel like on the internet
It's
that you're
the
not.
business mentors going, it's not okay to make 4 or 5K.
Yeah.
Won't
Yeah,
name names.
that is a whole different podcast probably on people in that industry that talk absolute bullshit. But actually, that's one of my questions. So how do you feel like the industry's evolved in the past year?
Oh, God,
industry?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Just
I feel like there's more coaches and business mentors that are trying to go into a different sort of way of doing work, in terms of making sure that coaches become good coaches, not just good salespeople.
Yeah.
Because I think that's where there's definitely a big issue, is we've got these coaches with big platforms there's nothing really to them. They just look pretty. But they're good at doing sales, or they're good at having a sales team, and they get loads of clients on, and they don't offer a very good service, and then people are kind of put off getting online coaches. But I think there's probably more like sort of business mentory type things where they're trying to make the coaches good at what they're actually meant to be doing, which I think is good.
Yeah, and that's why I love like Lewis's program as well.
Yeah,
So like
that's what I was
Lewis,
thinking.
yeah. So like, and like obviously love Lewis and love everything that he's been doing. To be fair, and like I love the fact that he has the passion for it as well. So he loves actually making coaches better coaches, and I think that's like one thing that needs to be sorted out. But like you said, like I feel now there's more mentors now than there have been in the entire time I've worked online.
There's a few guys who were not very good online coaches who suddenly turned into business mentors, and I'm just like, how did you do that?
Yeah,
a few weeks ago you were saying that you were struggling, and now you're picking up clients to business mentor. Like,
well, this is the thing, isn't it? Like, there's no regulation on the online space, unfortunately. It's like one of the most unregulated spaces I've ever seen. And like, yeah, so there is definitely like there's people out there that like that even like they even lie about things, like, which is very annoying, because like I'm really bad at lying. Like, everyone will tell me this. Do you remember like that episode of Joey from Friends when he talks about the raccoon like coming in and like stealing someone's pie or something? That is literally me, because I can't lie. So when someone asks me, like, I'm so transparent about my numbers and what I've done, and I continue. If someone asks me like to see my Stripe account, I was like, go ahead, you can see it if you want. It doesn't bother me. But I've never once in my life ever claimed that I've ever run a coaching business, because I hated coaching and that's what I hated doing. But I've got like more marketing experience than I do, so that's why I do the marketing side of it. I don't then claim to then have run a coaching business and earn millions and millions of pounds, because that's just not right. So in my head, I'm like, all these fuckers just like lie, and it's just like, stop lying. But then it's like they lie to get the money, and then they make the money, and I'm like, hold on a second, I could be a millionaire right now if I just lied and just kept doing what I was doing. But it's because I'm so fucking bloody moral sometimes that like.
But it's better to build a business like that than on lies, because as we know, they crumble a little bit after that, don't they?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It's just weird, isn't it? But you know what? It's not even like, I'm not even specifically talking about one person, by the way. I'm talking about a multitude of people, because I actually know loads of them now. And I see so many of them on, and I sometimes as well, like when they're doing content, I'm like, oh, do people buy into this bullshit? Like, I really should just start talking some shite on the internet and see what happens, because I probably make more money that way. But then I just can't be bothered. Because I'm like, oh, my money means that, like, you know, I feel like I would just have to hold up a lot of stuff, and I'm like, it means I'm just going to have to, like, keep lying. And then I'll end up losing myself in a lie. But yeah, that was that little bit of it. So what would you give like advice on, say if someone was starting in the fitness industry, starting online, what would be like the one biggest piece of advice that you'd give someone?
It would probably be to find a business mentor. Obviously it's a little bit difficult if finances aren't there, but putting effort into that and finding somebody that's going to help you push that little bit further, because it's the same as what they'd be doing with a client. You kind of have an idea what you should be doing, but having accountability, having that support, having somebody that can give you direction, or even just a sounding board, it really makes a big difference, and it helps you push things a bit faster, because we get in our own way a lot, don't we? We overthink things. We think things need to be better and more perfect before we're actually trying to do something. Like with the online thing, I think I did a trial 2 years before I actually started it, and I was like, oh, I need to change a little bit. But it was hiring somebody that just pushed me to actually do it. And you're going to have shit ones. It's the same with coaching.
How do you tell, though, who's a good one and who's a bad one?
I think, well, going back to what you were just saying about lying, it's quite difficult because you don't know who's lying. But I think it's personality, and you have to speak to a few people. Because how many people have I worked with? I think 4 maybe, but I've spoken to maybe 3 times more than that. And I think you have to take a leap sometimes, because you're not always going to know, and I think that's probably the best thing to go and do about it.
So what would you say, like, if someone came to you and was like, what I need to be looking out for if I want to try to find like someone who's a really good mentor? Like, what would be the key like attributes you look for?
Somebody that actually listens to what you want and why you want things a certain way and what you want for the future. Someone who you actually get on with, obviously that's important, and somebody that has similar values. So like just then we were saying about the honesty and integrity, that's pretty important for me as a business owner. So if somebody has those similar qualities, that's what you probably want to be looking for.
Yeah, that's like actually. Do you know what? Like that was something I always talk about. Is like, on like when I went out to write out the mastermind values, they were like the key things I wrote down was honesty, integrity, and there was the two things I really tried to uphold. I was like, because like not even it's like I don't know. Do you know when you're just like always looking like it's always like why do always the bad guys always win type thing? And it's like because they know how to market and they know how to speak to people. Where I'm just like. I feel like I'm like I said this to Sticky the other day. I was like, I'm like the BTS girl. Like I am the real life BTS girl because I work behind so many different people's businesses that like you would never have known. And she was like, why don't you start like an Instagram page like that? And I was like, oh, it just sounds like a lot of effort. I was like, what would even be the point? But honestly, that's like, yeah, I've never been very good at the whole like, not say put myself out there, but I actually have never been that person really. Like I'm very much being like the one who like, yeah, I'll just help you and I'll just. You know, I'm sitting here in the background, kind of doing it, which is why sometimes I get really awkward when I'm doing content and podcasts.
Yeah, fair.
Because I'm just like, and then it's all on me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's how it works. But, yeah. So, I'm trying to ask anything common question. So, what would be like the one thing that you would say that every entrepreneur or business owner needs? Not a mentor, but like needs to have in order to succeed.
Grit. That's the biggest thing. Because stuff's not going to go to plan. Things that you don't think are going to work will work better than things that you put a lot of effort in. And you just kind of have to push through because if you want to succeed, that's the only way. It's the same thing with coaching and training and things like that. You teach consistency. And consistency isn't everything going great all the time. Consistency is showing up. So having that grit, be able to push past your own shit, and that's what's going to get you going.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, that was all my questions.
Okay.
Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
No, that's good.
Okay,
So
perfect.
I'm less stressed now.
Well, thank you very much. That was good.